Hi guys, Olive here. Here today to review Solutions and Other Problems by Allie Brosh. This book was, at long last, published in 2020 by Gallery Books, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, and the hardcover comes in at 528 pages. I say at long last because this book has been highly anticipated for the last 7 years. Allie Brosh is the creator of the hit blog Hyperbole and a Half. She released her first book by the same name back in 2013, and it was basically immediately beloved. The book contained more of what could be found on her blog, which were essentially life stories told with both text and also with comic illustrations that she did with this very awkwardly simple paintbrush style. It sounds completely missable when you describe it like that, but you only have to read 1 or 2 posts to get completely hooked. It's part of the reason why her blog became so popular and what ended up earning her a book deal. I think part of the reason why Allie's blog got so popular is that her observational skills are really sharp. She has a really self-deprecating sense of humor that is absolutely hysterical, and also she has a knack for drawing facial expressions, even using the simple art style that she has. A good number of her stories on the blog and then in her book are about her childhood and about just how weird of a little girl she was, but then there were a lot of modern stories as well about her adventures with her 2 dogs, and extremely relatably, about her struggles with depression. I think it was partially because she was so forthcoming about her struggles with mental health that when she disappeared off of the internet, fans started to get really worried about her. She stopped posting on her blog in late 2013, she stopped posting on social media in 2014, and after a ton of publicity that she did for the first book, we didn't hear anything else from her. The second book that she was due to write, which was said to be titled Solutions and Other Problems, had its release date pushed forward so many times on Amazon that it eventually read that they didn't know when or if this book was ever going to be available. Speaking personally, I had just, within the past few months, gone into my Goodreads to-read shelves and actually removed this book entirely because I was convinced we were never going to get it. In the 6-year silence since the first book came out, there were countless posts across the internet all asking more or less the same thing. Where is Allie Brosh? People missed her. I missed her. I am a fan of her work, and I can tell you firsthand that reading her comics, you really felt a closeness to her. Through her work, you felt close to her. I mean, she was sharing memories of her childhood, talking about her depression, talking about the 2 dogs that she lived with, the slow dog and the helper dog. You felt invested. You wanted to know about her progress, the dog's progress. She made us laugh. She made us cry. She made us feel less alone. And all with weird paintbrush art. What seemed clear through this 6-year silence was that Allie Brosh was going through something. And when I decided to take the second book off of my Goodreads shelves a few months back, I figured if we hadn't heard from her in 6 years, perhaps she had decided to step out of the public eye for good. Then, completely out of the blue, I was offered an arc of this book. Suffice it to say, I was excited. Screaming was involved. First impressions were, this book is huge. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's 528 pages long, when Hyperbole and a Half isn't even 400 pages long. There are nearly 1,700 pictures in here. This has obviously been in the works for a very long time. So that partially answers the what has Allie Brosh been up to for the past 6 years question. But there are other answers in here as well. They are not presented right up front. She does sprinkle them throughout the book. And she doesn't go into a tremendous amount of detail with any one thing, which is completely understandable once you get a sense of what those things are. I think a lot of people will be curious about this, so I will just come out and say it, that yes, through reading this book, you will get a sense of why she was gone for so many years. There were a lot of things that happened, both to her and by her own hand, and it's heartbreaking. There is a chapter, it happens about 1/3 of the way into the book, where she warns you that there is going to be a serious part. And she's not kidding. It's very serious. It's devastating. I had to take a day away from the book after reading that. But then, just 2 chapters after that is my favorite chapter of the entire book. It had me laughing so hard that I couldn't breathe. I laughed myself into a fit of the hiccups. And that is the power of Allie Brosh. That's always been the power of Allie Brosh, to present things so raw and so real with such a nonsensically simple art style, while having the ability to touch your heart, to relate to you, to make you laugh. That has always been the power that she has, and I'm not at all convinced she knows it. Rest assured that not everything in here is dark. There are so many great chapters containing her signature situational stories. I'm assuming a lot of those happened in her period away from the internet, but there are also some more childhood stories, which are always comedy golds. There will be some familiar faces, some familiar figures from her previous work, but you will notice the absence of others. It will kind of give you a sense of how much her life has changed. There are also some new characters, some new recurring characters, including one little girl, a neighbor girl of hers, who is absolutely determined to get Allie to see her bedroom, but Allie keeps resisting. It is a hilarious recurring thing. It is definitely still Allie's signature art style, but it's definitely a little bit more refined. However, I should note that that's not entirely consistent between chapters. Some of them definitely are a little bit more high quality than others, and it kind of confirms my suspicion that this was a project done over a long period of time, and that there was a natural progression in her art style. It's not something that's super noticeable. It won't catch your eye immediately that one is better quality than another, and therefore it won't really have an effect on your reading experience, but it is something that I noticed and therefore wanted to mention. I did have one issue with this book though. There was one thing that kept me from giving this book the full 5 stars that I gave to Hyperbole and a Half, and that is the fact that some of these chapters go on for just far too long. Now, I think I have an inkling as to why that might be the case. This was a book that was clearly hotly anticipated for a very long time, and this is an author who was going through a really hard time and was probably having trouble working as much as she would like and as much as the publisher would like. So when the book is finally done and handed over to the publisher, I can't imagine there was much of an editing process. I don't know if any of you are Arrested Development fans, but I have always thought that the 4th season that happened on Netflix was not nearly as successful as the first 3 seasons, partially because the writers didn't feel the pressure of having to fit as many jokes as possible into as little time as possible. The pressure of fitting as many jokes as possible into a 20-something minute episode was a good pressure to have. They had to shave off the excess, get to the point, get to the actual funny stuff. Then they go over to Netflix and they have an unlimited amount of time, and the magic was gone. That's kind of how I felt about this book. I feel like if an editor would have sent the pages back to Allie with notes saying, cut 100 pages of this, we want it to be more similar in length to Hyperbole and a Half, Solutions and Other Problems would have been a lot stronger for it. Because sometimes in this book, the panels just keep coming and coming when you already get the point. I think some editing really could have tightened it up. Of course, I wasn't there during that process, so I don't know how much of that did or didn't happen. All of this is speculation, but I have my suspicions. But that's my only complaint. This is a book that I never thought I was going to get the chance to read. I was convinced it was never going to exist. So the whole way through, I just felt so incredibly grateful that I got to spend time with Allie Brosh again. I try not to be one of those fans who just wants to consume more from a creator without any regard to what they're going through or what the process of creation might do to them. So at the end of this, I just basically hope that Allie Brosh is okay. I hope she continues to be okay. The book ends on a high note, on a hopeful note, so I'm definitely optimistic. And I hope that if creating more work like this is something that she wants to do, then I hope she does it. But if she just wants to disappear and live a private life, I hope she does that as well. It must be really difficult having a gift for this very niche thing that you do and having this magic and magnetism about you that makes all of these people love you while being a very private person, as it seems like she is. I can't imagine having someone like Bill Gates sing your praises, and he has a blurb on this book as well, and then going through some of the most difficult years of your life while the public speculates on where you are and what you're doing. If you're a fan of Allie, like I have been since one of my roommates in Russia encouraged me to read her blog, shortly thereafter we were all curled up around a tiny laptop with a bad megaphone internet connection, waiting for pictures of the Allot monster to load so that we could giggle at them, then you're going to love this book. Reading it felt like picking up where we all left off. So those were my thoughts on Solutions and Other Problems and the return of Allie Brosh. If you've read this book or if you want to read this book, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. But if you'd prefer to reach out to me somewhere other than YouTube, I am on a variety of different places on social media, and the links to all of my profiles will be in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.